Hello. So today's A&G discussion will be over election issues. So to start, the requirements to vote in the U.S. elections for public offices is that you must be 18 years old, you have to be a U.S. citizen, and you have to meet the state's requirements, which can mean different things. The growing controversy is that not all states have the same regulations, specifically as far as voter ID goes. Some states can do photo ID. Some can be kind of, if you show current address from, like a bank statement or something. And some states also do not require any voter ID. As long as you are registered to vote, that is good enough to meet the state's requirements. So, very big emphasis on making sure you know that what your state's voting regulations are before you get to the polls. Like I said, it's a very big recent controversy within the last election or two. So just keep up with that as that goes, because that is a very big deal as far as being able to vote. And also, when you register to vote, you get assigned to go to a certain destination to vote, and you must go to that assigned designated polling location. You cannot just go to any polling destination or venue and go put in your vote. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So, anyways, moving on to the caucuses and what those are. The caucuses are the first step for both political parties to kind of narrow down who they want to represent their party moving forward. A very popular caucus is notoriously the Iowa caucus, and you may be asking, which I had asked myself, what's the emphasis on Iowa? Nothing against Iowa by any means, but, it's a relatively smaller state compared to the rest of our country, and politically speaking, it's not a state that you would think would mean much of an emphasis to the political world. But the way it is perceived is that, with these caucuses, you kind of get a measuring stick of where candidates are to the rest of the party. What candidates the party likes, what candidates the party's kind of 50-50 on, and which ones they've kind of moved on from to other people. So it can indicate strength and weakness for these candidates. So that's why it's important to make a good first reputation to kind of gain momentum. An analogy that I kind of put it as was, imagine it's a sporting event and there's two teams playing at a neutral site. And with that being the case, me personally, I've been to neutral site events where, I'm not necessarily a fan of either team, but, if they have a majority of the crowd and they have the momentum of the crowd at the time, it makes it easier for neutral fans to go, I kind of want to join that movement. They look like a lot of fun. So that's just kind of not an exact comparison, but kind of an easier comparison to how I kind of view the momentum with that Iowa caucus stuff. And then lastly, we can talk about the Electoral College, which Electoral College has been a staple in our elections, not going all the way back to the beginning, but it's been a staple in our elections for a very long time. And recently there's been some discussion about possibly what an election would look like without an Electoral College. So, however, I don't think that would be a great idea. I think we should just stick with what we have, because it says here there are 538 total Electoral College votes. And you need the magic number to win the election is 270, which 270 times 2, 540. So just about half of the Electoral College votes that you need of those 538 total to win. So I think that's fair. And I'm, I can see the argument because some small states may feel like they're kind of left out, as if to think that their state doesn't really matter. You know, since the electoral college votes are based upon the population of the state. You know, California, Texas, big states like that are going to have large amounts of electoral college votes for winning the state compared to places like South Dakota and, you know, the smaller states up to the northeast. So I can see where the smaller states could kind of have an issue, but I still think it is necessary to count the votes based on the population, because it does impact more people, this presidency, whoever wins, and it should be a candidate's reward for winning a big state should be greater, in my humble opinion. Anyways, thank you for your time listening to this, and have a good night.